9 people line up for a photo. And assuming they're all different heights, what is the probability of the following situations? So case A, they will line up according to height. Well, there's only 2 ways they can line up according to height. Shortest to tallest or tallest to shortest. So there's 2 possibilities out of how many? Well, 9 people, what are all the different ways you can possibly arrange them in a row? Well, that's going to be 9 factorial. Okay, and that's because for the first person in the row, there's 9 different choices you have. For every one of those, there's 8 choices for the next person. So 9 times 8 ways you can have the first 2 people stand. For every one of those, there's 7 choices for the next person. And then for all of those combinations, there's 6 choices for the next person, and so on until you get to the very last spot, and there's only one person left who can stand in that spot. So that's why it's going to be 2 divided by 9 factorial. That's what that exclamation mark factorial means. It's just multiplying all the numbers from 1 to 9. Okay, now part B. The tallest will be in the middle. Okay, so there's 9 spots here. And then the tallest one has to be in the middle. Okay, so there's only one choice there. They have to be in the middle. So what other options are there? Well, effectively, it's a question of how do you arrange the other people in the other spots. So you have 8 people and you have 8 slots. In how many different ways can you get 8 people to line up beside each other? Well, that's going to be 8 factorial. Okay, and the total number, again, how many ways can you get all 9 people to line up beside each other? That's 9 factorial. So 8 factorial over 9 factorial, which is actually going to be 1 over 9. Okay, that's the probability that the tallest person will end up in the middle. And then part C. So the tallest and the shortest will not be beside each other. Okay, so it's actually easier to calculate what's the probability that they will be beside each other and then subtract that from 1. Right? Subtracting a probability from 1, if you remember, the probability of not A is 1 minus the probability of A. Right? So we can just subtract, find out, okay, what's the probability that they will be beside each other, and then subtract that from 1 to get the probability that they will not be beside each other. Okay, so we have those 9 slots. And how can they be beside each other? Well, they can be in these 2 slots, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So there's 8 possibilities, and that's assuming that the tallest is beside the shortest standing on the left. Now there's another 8 where it's the other way around, where the shortest is to the left of the tallest, right? So we actually have 16 different possibilities where they are beside one another. Well, 16 different arrangements where they are beside one another. But for every one of those 16 arrangements, there's still everyone else who can stand in a different way. Okay? So for every one of those 16 arrangements, there's still the other 7 people that can arrange themselves any way they want. So we have 16 times, how can 7 people arrange themselves any way they want? In how many different ways? Well, that's 7 factorial. So 16 times 7 factorial. And that's out of the total of 9 factorial, which is the total number of ways that that 9 people can arrange themselves, right? So what is that going to give us? Well, that's 16 over 8 times 9, right? Or 16 over 72. That's going to be our probability, and you can reduce that if you want. You can turn it into a percent, whatever form you prefer. But 16 out of 72 is the probability that they are going to be beside each other. Now, to find out the probability that they're not going to be beside each other, we subtract that from 1. So for simplicity, let's reduce it. So we could say that is 8 over 36, or 4 out of 18, or 2 out of 9. So the probability that they will not be beside each other is 1 over 2 out of 9. And that's going to be 7 out of 9. So 7 out of 9 is the probability that the tallest and shortest will not be beside each other. So I hope that helps, and until next time.